With just a handful of weeks left in the first season of 2024, the drivers in the iRacing IndyCar Open Series strummed their way to the Music City, and today on the concrete surface that is the Nashville Superspeedway, it's time to unleash the Dallara IR18s. Delighted to have your company, everyone, here on RaceSpotTV once again, where my name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside as ever by Ewan O'Leary. And Ewan, last time out, well, it was helter-skelter on the streets of Detroit, and well, this one is expected to be fearsome, but maybe not in the same way.
Yeah, very much not in the same way. Last week's race showed us that you don't need loads of overtakes to make a very interesting race. It was a nail-biter right to the very end, but this one's going to be very, very different. I'm expecting a lot more overtakes on this occasion because we're at Nashville, we're over racing again, and this should be a fun evening.
I'm not complaining that we're not racing on the streets of Nashville. I will be completely honest in saying that, but this race bound to be full of plenty of intrigue. Of course, it comes at the tail end of the season after this return to the streets, but of Montreal, we head up north of the border to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve and then over to Pocono, February the 16th. That's a bit wrong in terms of schedule, but I think that's going to be a fun finale to round things out, especially knowing how the championship continues to evolve. Last time out, of course, we were talking about Adam Blocker being the points leader. That no longer the case. He missed the last couple of weeks of racing. Kevin Burrell has taken advantage, Ewan, to spring his way to the top.
Yeah, he's been slowly reeling that in as soon as we've been broadcasting this series for the second half of the season. He's been slowly closing, and now is the week where he takes over the top of the standings. Be interesting tonight to see whether Adam Blocker can make up any of those points, because he is here involved in our session this evening. So looking forward to seeing how he goes and whether he can jump back to the top again after week 10.
Look at some of the other drivers in the mix. It's not just up front, but Jacob Oster, Tristan Moss only split by 10 points amongst them. Will Weiser in the mix, so plenty of other drivers still with championship intentions in mind. Qualifying underway right now, and well, counterintuitively, this is going to be a somewhat important qualifying session because who knows what the race itself is going to hold. We're racing under the night light, but on a surface like this where tyre wear is going to be probably at a premium, staying out front could be important. And so it's private label team height 1 and 2 right now. Jason Brophy leads from Connor Harrington, and then Adam Blocker alongside Hamilton Akabuizi, who's made the switch over from the Indy Alliance Racing team to join up with Team I5G. His new teammate Jacob Oster lines up then alongside Jesper Orman, Akabuizi's former teammate, on row number 3. 30 seconds left to go. Qualifying order, Ewan, already locked and loaded for the most part.
Looks like it. We've got, everyone already complete with qualifying, so that's already done, and we're ready to go racing. Yeah, should be a good one. We'll see how we get on in terms of tyre wear and in terms of racing as well. Apparently we haven't been here for quite some time, so a bit of an experience maybe for some drivers.
Should be fun, that is for sure. Drivers on pit lane getting ready to go. Don't forget, you can follow along with timing by heading to timing.racespot.tv, where you'll track the likes of Jason Brophy from pole position. He will be focusing on NASCAR action tomorrow night, but great to have him along tonight, alongside, of course, his teammate in the private label Team Hype stable. 13,000 between them. Blocker for Powerslide Motorsports inside of Akabuizi, not for Indy Alliance Racing now. Of course, makes the switch over to I5G alongside of Jacob Oster. Yes, but Orman rounds out the top 6 starting cars. 7th goes the way of Rashad Craig. Andrew Marquez will roll alongside in that pink and black number 5 entry, with Seb Alexander staying up a little bit early to roll alongside AJ Musselman in the 510 Esports machine to round out the top 10. Matthew Ponto, Matt Taylor, 11th and 12th positions respectively, with 13th going the way of Nick Sudik, 14th for the Michigan native Robin Glennox, James Allen, and then Stephen Lee, Aaron McQuarrie, and Jack Mara make up the rest of the 18 cars that are ready to tango here in what is bound to be an exciting race. We've got 115 laps on deck. Of course, probably going to see the cautions fly at least once or twice tonight, but you and the nerves building once more as the drivers sit on pit lane and get ready to rumble.
Yeah, I was wondering before this one, how is this race going to be a little bit different to Texas? I know you weren't there for that one, but I found it was very difficult to overtake. Once you were in the lead and you were defending the inside line, I found it very difficult to see that lead changing. hoping for something a little bit different here and believing that we will get that as well, especially as the run goes on. The tyres begin to wear down a little bit. We might well see some side-by-side racing, but it seems to be the case where it matters early on what happens. If there's lots of side-by-side running early on, then he's sort of bringing in those other lines. He's sort of helping everyone later on in the race. If we get a very single-file start to the race, it might be difficult later on, but if we get side-by-side, or the earlier we get side-by-side, the better, really. And it will help us later on in terms of positional overtakes, hopefully, and in racing when we get that run to the flag in those final cautions.
Off and away we go for this one and single formation lap that the drivers will get to get themselves ready. Be 2x2 on this initial start. Any restarts that we get, of course, would though be single file, and so if you're on the outside here, you've got to take full advantage of maybe trying to get into line as early as possible. Adam Blocker's having a bit of a show of intent there, looking down low on Jason Brophy. I'm throwing you under the bus here, Ewan. Who comes out on top in 115 laps time?
I'm going to go for Adam Blocker to take the win and take a step forward to regaining that championship lead again.
Well, it's not a bad shout, all things considered, given what a run that the Powerslide Motorsports team have had on ovals on occasion, but it's private label Team Hype 1 and 2 as we get ready to go here at the Nashville Superspeedway, ready to strum our way to victory lane. Let's find out who will come out on top. Great jump from the teammates out front as they get us underway and roar into the opening corner. Single file instantly, Blocker tries to box out Akabuizi, and behind Oster, Orman, Craig, Alexander, Marquez and Musselman try to slot in towards their lines inside of the top 10. This is the early stages, drivers searching for some clean air on the nose.
Yeah, they will do. They'll do a little bit of moving around here early on just to see where the lines are, where they can find that little bit of clean air, but that's not a problem for Jason Brophy at the moment. He takes the lead through the opening lap and he gets to lead the field around. You can see there already some searching up on the high side, but it's not the widest circuit in the world. You don't have all the space to try and find other lines. It is limited somewhat in that respect.
Jacker will drivers be dialing into the cars early in this race. Remember, you have the limited adjustment, both of the front and rear anti-roll bars if you've got them connected, but that weight jacker just to load the car on the high side. And as Jason Brophy, fastest lap of the race, punched in, of course, at the front. Marquez around the outside of Rashad Craig. That was confidence through turns 1 and 2.
It was, and he's almost into the back of Jesper Orman as well on the way out of 2, and now off of 3 and 4. He's got his nose ahead at the line here for 6th position as well. Clearly finding some joy up high and a lot more speed actually than those on the low side compared to him.
So now there's two trains of thought in terms of which line you want to run. Clearly most drivers electing to go down low, but the Madworks car very, very comfortable in going up high, but now he's going to have to jink back underneath because such a good run out of turn 4. Underneath of the Worm Man, Jacob Oster can do nothing but watch as his Team i5G car drops down to 6th spot. And the charge from Marquez continues, but gotta wonder, is this car geared to go fast in the early parts of this run, or will it fall off as we begin to run later into this fuel stint?
Well, it does somewhat depend on what you think you're going to see in terms of the race here. Do you think it's going to be a lot of cautions here today and it's going to be a short green flag run to the end? Because if so, then you want to dial that in to sort of be quick at the end of the race in that short run. But if you think there's going to be a long green flag run here today, then you don't really want that car set up in that way. So it all matters really, and all depends on how you think this race is going to be run, and the jury's still out on that, to be honest with you. It's difficult to know before the race just how many cautions we're going to see, of course, but nice green flag run to start. At least we're settling in here.
We always want to expect fewer cautions rather than more. Jesper Orman the next to pass Jacob Oster, so the number 3 machine's able to carve its way on forward as back towards the line to end lap 7. Jason Brophy now enjoys a full second of a gap back to his teammate Connor Harrington. Adam Blocker then runs 3rd with a margin building to Hamilton Akabuizi, so clearly clean air at the front, very important. Behind 4th position though, Marquez now trying to work and close and no longer running up high with as much success and as much vigor.
No, not really. He seems to have levelled off a little bit in that respect. He was running rings around everyone earlier on, but now he's very much hitting a bit of a wall here and very much finding himself stuck behind Akabuizi in 4th position. And a lot of these drivers are not many positional changes at this point, although battle for 13th will come off of turn 2 right now, so there's 1 or 2 up and down the field.
It's Robin Lennox alongside of Matthew Ponto for that unlucky 13th spot. Still got a long way to go before we're talking about green flag pit stops, but one thing to note at a track like this where you are racing at pretty high speeds on the banking is getting down to pit speed is not going to be a trivial thing, so I hope some of the drivers have done their practice. These two have been side by side for a while, and Glenix finally holds on to the spot.
Yeah, finally gets into 13th position, and Ponto might be in a bit of trouble as a result as well. James Allen pretty close behind, but not close enough to really take advantage, and so they'll stick into line as well. Every group in the field really getting like this now, very much more single file, and you can just sense the speed in the race slowing down, can't you, a little bit as well. The lap times starting to come away a little bit from the best lap times. You can see this tyre wear starting to take effect even after about 10 minutes, or 10 laps even.
See that on the left side of the screen, the fastest lap of the race, 22.762 for your leader. Last time by, he did a 23.062, so it's already 0.3 of a second in terms of fall off. I'd be curious to see what that would be represented in terms of miles per hour, because of course a lot of the times in open wheel racing, especially on the ovals, you do tend to use speed rather than time as your determination of ranking at the end of the day. Marquez back up towards the top 5 as he continues to run a status quo for the time being, and single file for the most part it has gotten. So clearly at that stage of the race now where Ewan 13 laps in, tires screaming in agony. Yeah, they are. Must be at this stage. Everyone's very much stuck where they are as a result as well, which is a bit of a problem, especially back in that sort of midfield portion towards the lower end of the top 10 and those just outside of it. They all seem very stuck where they are, and not even the high side is really getting anybody anywhere anymore. Marquez was finding a lot of joy up there earlier on, but no longer. I do wonder what effect this is going to have on the end of the race as well. Is the fact that everybody's just running on the low side in single file going to take away those higher lines for later on when people are going to want to make overtakes for the win? And how far away are we from potentially seeing some traffic? Here's Jason Brophy, the race-leading machine, private label Team Hype's number 4, and he's got Clean Air in front of him, at least visually. Running last on track is Stephen Lee in the number 15, and he is 16 seconds off of your leader, and so they're doing 23-second lap times. Can't quite see him, but given that lead at a 26.141 last time by, give it 3 laps, and Jason Brophy is going to be right on the back of traffic and into the thick of things.
You might expect so, because, we're 17 seconds now the gap. The lap times at around 23 seconds. You do the maths, they're not very far away at all, and that's going to be very interesting here because, as I mentioned, everyone's sort of stuck where they are. But what about when the race leader gets there? Will he be able to overtake, and how easy is it going to be as we've got Jesper Ullmann down the inside of Marquez and maybe inside the top 5?
I think we're seeing these tyres start to now pay the price in the Madworks number 5 as Marquez slots back into line. The Indy Alliance Racing driver now tries to charge back forward to make the pass on former teammate Hamilton Okabuizi. It's going to be a contender come the, not month of May, because the iRacing Indy 500 going to be running the week after the Real World Indianapolis 500 this year, so effectively a week in May and then a couple of days in June to crown our new champion in the iRacing Indy 500. Everyone trying to dethrone Christian Steele. Okabuizi's 1.8 seconds off the back of a podium spot. Tell you what, right now, throw a commentator's curse into the mix here. Caution would change everything because Jesper Ullmann's going up high. Yeah,
it certainly would. I mean, but in the same respect, where is it going to come from at the moment? I don't really see where it's going to come from because nobody's particularly dear me, can't speak. They're not particularly loose off the corners or anything. They're going to spin on their own. Not many drivers running nose to tail or side by side at the moment. So I don't really know where a caution is going to come from, although it's hard to see this entire race going without one. Now there's going to be overtakes as well, as Jesper Ullmann seems to have been just cautious in the opening portion of this race, and now he's really letting fly and getting some overtakes.
Chipping away on the high side and gets on through. Makes the track a little bit longer than the 1.3 odd miles that it is, but 14 degrees of banking can make it work, and now he's back down low and going to work on now what is a 2-second advantage to Adam Blocker or Okabuizi. Have to deal with dirty air for the first time in quite a while. Same thing can be said for some of these other drivers. Rashad Craig has been working on the back of Jacob Oster now for a bit. Jesper Ullmann is, of course, also in the Indy Alliance Racing stable, so you'd assume that's a pretty similar setup to what Rashad Craig has been running. Let's see if the number 10 can make the high line work too.
Yeah, we'll see. He's just sort of switching back to a lower line through 4 there, just for a little bit of a run off the turn. Slipstream into 1 and 2 again. Now he's going to look for some clean air up on the high side, but he's sort of doing this sort of diamond thing, if you like. We call it a diamond in road racing, wouldn't we, where you sort of ducking for a late apex and a better exit. I've not seen it done very often actually on an oval, which is interesting to see, but he seems to be having a bit of joy with it actually at the moment. He's really low off the corners.
It's giving him the chance to close, but not the chance to get alongside, and every time that Oster slings it on the yellow line initially, watch as he washes up on corner exit, and that's where the real deficit is starting to be built up as they continue now to actually lose a little bit of ground to Andrew Marquez net. Last lap was actually a gain for the i5G green and gold, but as we now cross onto lap 25 of 115, nearing a pit stop window opening, still seeing the margins up front just continuing to grow. Jason Brophy is closing on Stephen Lee's 15, now that was definitely a spin into the grass. Will it bring out the yellow? That's the question as he tries to now rejoin the track in a safe fashion.
Well, it's going to be difficult to do that from this point. The field is spread out now, and so there's going to be very little gaps out on the field. He's going to reverse back into the grass again and try and sort of rejoin parallel with the racetrack, and does so. So we will stay green by the looks of things, but Stephen Lee there giving those who don't want a caution a bit of a heart attack there.
That was, well, remarkable. So often we've seen a hair trigger on the button, what in the iRacing IndyCar community some would call a Van der Sant caution, but there, even though it was very, very marginal, and I'd argue that a caution would not have been a terrible call, we're given the gift of green flag racing, and Jason Brophy is stormed to now a 2-second advantage, has taken full chat of that to blow his way clear at the front, and those behind that may have been thinking caution coming, you've got to wonder where they are in their mindset right now. Can they get back into the rhythm?
Well, that is going to be a bit of an interesting one, because it's very often anyway you'd see a caution at that point. This is what happened. I said no one was getting loose off the corners. Well, that turns out to not entirely be the case. And you just look at the spin here. This is exactly why it's not a caution. He's not quite adjusted for that. He's tried to save it by looking up the brakes and has gotten into the grass, and that's ended up sending him sort of 90 degrees, if you like, sideways, not all the way around, but the fact that he didn't go and spin actually up on the racetrack means that we don't have a caution, to the relief of some and the disdain of others.
Well, Marquez is being bodied right now, passed by Jacob Oster. Andrew Marquez slips up the inside. If there was anyone that would have wanted a caution right there, I think that MadWorks machine would not have said no. His tyres, let's not forget, probably feeling the price of what was very quick pace at the start of the race. So Oster and Craig almost now both through, but Craig's not done completely, as to watch on his outside as Marquez with a great run out of turn 2.
Yeah, good run off the high side, which is what you get for running up there, of course, but is it enough to hang on to 7th position? It is for now. Russia Craig not able to follow Oster through, which is a little bit disappointing for him, really. I would have thought he'd want to follow through and try and keep the momentum that he was clearly building, and he was seemingly getting closer to an overtake on Oster, but now that momentum has all been ruined.
Get a look from up above on the timing stand at the different lines that are being run. It's at that point of the race where we mentioned we're getting close to a pit stop window. At what point, if you are a car chasing down, do you want to try and do something different on strategy? Rashad Craig wanted to go up high for a second there, but wasn't given the option. Just watch as Marquez elected to go up high, kept the dirty air onto the nose of the number 10 machine. And as they continue just to rumble onto now lap 33 of the stint for these drivers, down low is going to get increasingly difficult to run to the yellow line. And so I think Marquez is doing the smart thing, Ewan, defending up high.
Yeah, I think so. Craig clearly wants to run up there, and Marquez wants to take that away from him. And it's working so far. Craig is finding it very, very difficult to come off the turn on the low side, sort of in a good way, and he can't get near him now. Marquez has defended very well here and done well to take that line away from him.
Well done. This is great, though. The level of commitment from these drivers has been incredible, that we've had this many green flag laps, and you've got to assume we're getting to the point where one driver has gotten loose. Stephen Lee, I think, might have officially called it a day after his little incident that, well, could have been a lot bigger. How many other drivers find themselves on the balance, the real knife edge of the car setup especially now as Jason Brophy continues to now increasingly latch on to the back of now the rest of the lapped contenders. Great run for Rashad Craig, once again going to stifle his momentum out though, because he just cannot get to the line that he wants to run. Jesper Orman, the one that's really doing the work, 1 second now back off a podium spot.
Yeah, he's doing well. He's moved through the field pretty nicely after a considered start to the race where he didn't make any noise, but he's certainly made a few overtakes since then, and now he's catching Adam Blocker maybe for third position in the 3 cars, so he's making progress and continuing to gain time. It was only a couple of hundredths of a second last time around though, still a long way to go.
And just look at how we get a good look from the spotter stand itself, electing not to go down low. Another one of the drivers that was willing to go up high early, something that often you need to build into the balance of your car. Taylor and Glenix have been fighting slightly further back. Rashad Craig has gotten onto the back again of Andrew Marquez as we close now on 40 laps being complete, all without a caution, and a big wiggle off the corner, and here comes Craig down low and finally makes the move happen.
Well, we complimented Marquez for his defending, using that high side, but unfortunately he's just got it a little bit wrong, a little bit too high on that occasion. He had to lift off in order to not smack the wall off before there, and it's cost him a position. Rashad Craig was waiting for that to happen, and you can see he is quicker, there's no doubt about that, but it was just a case of waiting for the mistake, and Marquez has made it.
Great opportunistic driving, sometimes what you just need to be aware of. Keep your eyes ahead of you and stay to the right side of the track to take advantage. Battle for 12th, we'll keep an eye on this, because as Glenix, Taylor and Ponto will squabble in and amongst themselves, they're now 16 seconds adrift of your leader, and so Jason Brophy continuing to punch in lap times around the 23.3 bracket, not far away from these drivers being considered in the traffic realm. And so if you are the leader, at what point do you think that these drivers aren't worth fighting with? Because as Ponto goes down low on Matt Taylor, got to remember, Ewan, in oval racing, especially here on the open wheel side of things, blue flags, informational only.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something for Brophy to contend with first, because the leader often finds it very tricky compared to the rest of the field in terms of working their way through traffic. You don't want to go a lap down in one of these races, of course, as these two, Matt and Matthew, still going side by side and can't leave each other alone at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's being called Matt quicker because you shave a couple of letters off your first name. I mean, weight savings on the paint. Formula One teams would love the sound of that.
Oh dear, yeah.
I went there.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they both go by Matt anyway. It's possible.
It's possible. I'm pretty sure Matt Taylor has actually submitted the form where he can choose what name is on the broadcast, and Matthew Ponto probably hasn't. So maybe it's just a battle of two Matts, and, well, Taylor's holding on for the time being. I've got to say, great fight between these two drivers, allowing Glenix and the number 14 to just pull away. And now 17 seconds off of Jason Brophy, who we watch inset in the bottom right corner of your screen. Got to wonder when he decides it's time to come down pit lane.
Yeah, we're getting to that stage now, getting to that halfway stage very nearly. But Ponto and Taylor still running side by side. It's both pretty different to a lot of those that we've seen so far in this race, where we've seen a lot of nose to tail stuff, but not much actual side by side. But these two are providing it so far.
Yeah, this is what high-speed oval racing is all about. And technically, you know, some might question why this is called a Superspeedway, but really that's just because, you know, it's larger than a mile or so, and it gives it a bit of a distinction, a delineation against the Nashville Fairground Speedway, which is definitely not super in its speed. Ponto down low, still with those tires wearing, though. I've got to say, impressed he can be able to wrangle the car to be able to keep it down on the line. Taylor on the high side, though, as we enter turn one once again for the 45th time in this race, still running side by side.
It feels like the 45th time they've gone in side by side as well, to be honest. This battle never ending, and Taylor still ahead, despite having to fend off Ponto on multiple occasions now. Off of 4, he's still okay. Ponto keeps getting some fantastic runs, though, into turn 1. He will not look to the inside on this occasion. He'll stay behind, but one of the rare laps where they run nose to tail.
Wouldn't be shocked if these two are having to dial in the weight jacker every single lap right now just to try and keep it where it needs to go. Great look as Ponto just throws it up the inside of turns 3 and 4, and I think this time might have the ability to try and box out Taylor, but doesn't really throw the physicality needed in order to do so. Can he slingshot his way and now slide up the track? Rear ends almost stepped out on him for a moment as he came up through the apex of 1 and 2, but finally through to 13th spot. I mean, this is some great fighting further down through the field. As much as I want to keep an eye on it, check back in with your leader, because Jason Brophy is now only 1.5 seconds clear of his teammate Connor Harrington in that number 7 machine, slowly closing on his teammate.
And he's only about a second behind the back of the lap traffic. Is the dirty air of Jack Mara going to really close this gap further? Look at the gaps there in terms of last lap. Harrington again quicker on that occasion, shaving small amounts of time each lap off it. But are those small amounts of time going to turn into tenths of a second when Brophy has to overtake some traffic in a few moments' time?
I mean, there's only 2/10 in terms of lap time between the entire field, so we're not really talking big margins. And so that's what's going to be even more difficult for Brophy to try and work his way through. We're also at the point of the race where, 50 laps into a 115 lap affair, only talking 8 more laps to be able to do this on 1 pit stop. So realistically, there's not much strategy to really talk about. Brophy just needs to stay out there for as long as possible. It's 1.3 between him and his teammate. Adam Blocker is not closing, though, by any means.
No, he's not closing. Connor Harrington certainly is, though. Look at that time. 23.2 at this stage is very quick, and Brophy has been not even in the 23.3s for the last few now, so he is struggling a little bit. Maybe the dirty air starting to take effect for Jason Brophy, although he's not really very close to those in front, so clearly just struggling. 1.3 seconds. This race lead is very much going to be a battle. It's not going to be all Brophy by the looks of it. Now,
could this just be Jason Brophy managing this phase of the race, trying to get the 5 or so extra laps he needs to get to the halfway point and then try to push from there? Have to wait and see. Time will give us the answer there, but if that gap does come down under a second, I tell you what, Connor Harrington's going to be in a great position to probably build his confidence going into the second half of the race. But given that we've been caution-free so far, Ewan, I'm going to come out and say it right now, I can't imagine we get to the end of this race without a caution at some time.
Yes, but as I said earlier, where are they going to come from? I guess when the tyres are wearing, it might get a little bit more precarious, but nevertheless, it's not looking very caution heavy at the moment, this race. We've had a great opening run here of nearly half of the race, but maybe the battles that will start to develop here will interest us a little bit more in terms of cautions. Maybe we'll get some as a result of that as Russell Craig is on the move again.
That'd be a switch back underneath and cut back into turn 3. He's got Jacob Oster up high in 1 of 2 i5G machines that Craig will target. He's got him past the first, and now a Carboweezy next up the road, 9/10 of a second, a considerable margin, but mainly because these two drivers that we're watching on screen fought side by side for basically the entirety of the lap, and so some now work for the Indy Alliance Racing machine to be able to reel back in the leader. Gap at the front though, 8.5 tenths of a second, now under 8 tenths. Connor Harrington continues to close.
He is really closing now. You just wonder, you mentioned about Brophy managing this portion of the race, which I guess is a possible theory and we'll only have to wait to find out, but what if Harrington's been managing the early point of the race and now he's starting to unleash some speed? It's difficult to tell who's where in terms of that at the moment, but one thing is for certain, Brophy is being caught and the gap is below a second for the first time in quite a while. So that is interesting to note, and there's the look back from Jack Mara at Jason Brophy, who's looking for his way through.
I think we've got to take it down to pit lane. Hamilton and Carboweezy becomes the first to blink, and it's basically right on half distance, so the window has been opened. Who now will elect to go into the danger zone? Carboweezy is going to go a lap down by virtue of pitting. There's no ifs or buts about it. Harrington's going to now have to dispose of Jack Mara as well, but with one driver getting past, Mara officially now 1 lap down. Don't expect there to be too much pushing, too much fighting. Marquez, Ponto, 2 more drivers to roll down towards the lane as we jump on board with Harrington. And now watch Carboweezy off of the limiter and getting ready to go on what is a bumpy access road through turns 1 and 2.
And he's going to go 2 laps down by the looks of it as well, isn't he? Yeah, he does. So that's how much time you lose by pitting. Carboweezy was running in the top 5 and he goes 2 laps down. So that's the danger of pitting here early on, and there's always a high risk of caution as well because of stuff like that. I don't know who that was, but there was a very late dive to the pit lane across the racetrack, and these are the big dangers at this stage of the race. Cautions can happen from anywhere at this time.
I believe it was Adam Blocker who's got a black flag for his woes as well. So that's going to be a championship contender with some major dramas for what will classify as an unsafe pit entry. Jason Brophy, though, the driver that traditionally would have the pit stop woes, no such issue for him. We'll watch him on the jacks and get ready to roll off and away, as this is the look with Blocker, who, well, you got to cut in a little bit earlier than that, and that was an unsafe pit entry to confirm. Jason Brophy is going to roll off and away. And now, did he get beat by Jack Mara? I think he did.
He did, by the looks of it. So was that a slow pit stop for Brophy, or was it just a quick one from Mara?
Yellow flag!
Ah, dearie me. Yellow flag as well. Well, Craig and Unglenix are the only one who haven't been in.
And I think Jesper Orman had already committed, and so Craig and Unglenix might very well end up having a lap on the majority of the field. We'll get a sequence going as to what exactly happened, why we're under caution, but net result is first time today, pace car drivers needed once again, and we might just have a couple of the luckiest drivers in the world. I'm really not sure what triggered the caution, to be completely honest. Trying to figure it out on my timing screen. I think I finally got it pulled up.
Jack Mara. So in front of Brophy, sliding on the racetrack, and that was good avoidance as well from someone off of turn 2 there. You mentioned the bumpy nature of the at the access road. It didn't even seem like it was because of the bumps. It just seemed like he got on the power too early, really.
I mean, Jason Brophy in comparison to Jack Mara, one looks controlled, one does not.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe it was down to the bumps on second review. So fair enough. But yeah, that's really changed this race. There's no doubt about that.
So, as it stands right now, I think Jesper Orman, the only driver that technically had been calculated on the lead lap because he had pitted right as the caution had come out. So he will cycle to the lead. Now Jason Brophy, along with Jacob Oster, Hamilton Akabuizi, James Allen, and probably Connor Harrington, will be eligible for a wave around that will see them cycle back around to the front of the field. Excuse me, no, that is not true. Connor Harrington is behind Jesper Orman, and so Harrington's going to be trapped one lap down.
How has he ended up so far behind Brophy then? That doesn't make any sense to me. Because they were running nose to tail like 5 minutes ago, and now there's, 3 cars between them, and of course a lap between them because Harrington's come out behind Orman in the field, and so he's not eligible for the wave pie, as you say. But that doesn't make much sense to me. Why on earth has he lost so much time?
I'm assuming it's the power of the undercut with fresh tyres. We're talking, half a second plus a lap, so maybe Harrington getting just a little bit caught out there. Robin Glennick's another one of the drivers who has taken full advantage of this, so we're now just waiting for those wave around to cycle through, and to confirm 7 cars should be scored on the lead lap when we get ready to go racing. And Jesper Orman's going to be out of nowhere from going to try and close it on for a spot on the podium to leading this race, all because of the timing of the pit stops.
Yeah, sometimes this business is very bizarre indeed, and that is one of the bizarre moments. We're also going to see Jason Brophy in traffic for the first time. I know we saw him in lap traffic before. It's a bit different though. So going to see him in having to make some actual overtakes for the first time this evening, and looking forward to that, seeing how his car runs in the traffic and whether he can, just steamroll the 3 in front of him when this race restarts again, or whether it's going to be more difficult than that.
Now, you do have the ability in these open setup races to adjust your wing angles during pit stops, but that doesn't really allow you to do too much in terms of rebalancing the car for traffic. And given that Jason Brophy pitted before the caution as well, he wouldn't have had the opportunity to dial his car in. So he is very much racing with what he's got right now as we just continue to wait for the cycle to work around. Now, again, remember, Jesper Orman has to be behind the pace car for us to go racing once more. So should see next time at the line, handful of drivers that are trapped between the pace car and your race leader cycle back around. AJ Musselman, I see there as well. He is technically, I believe, 1 lap down behind Connor Harrington. So, yeah, there's been a big drama here, and some drivers are going to be hoping for some chaos, I think, to lie ahead.
Yeah, this caution has taken 1 lap longer than I was expecting, to be honest, but now the wave around will actually happen, and we'll get on to the restart. And the interesting thing for me is how on earth do those who are a lap down even find their way back onto the lead lap again? I'm not expecting too many more pit stops, if any, in this race. Surely there's going to be no more green flag pit stops throughout today's race. So where can they find an avenue to get back on the lead lap again when they're sort of so trapped one lap down?
Crashes.
Well, I guess maybe.
It's the only way that I can see moving forward from here, that anyone who's got a +1 next to their name has a chance of moving on forward.
I guess that is probably true, to be fair. But there's so many of them as well. That's the other issue. It's going to be very. What I'm saying is, it's going to be very difficult for them to do it sort of on track by passing people.
Such is the joys of American open wheel racing. We love the sort of chaos that this sort of a situation does bring forward, but now you've got to manage it, especially if you're one of those drivers in a pretty good spot up front, because Jesper Orman, Rashad Craig, Robin Glennox have traffic between them and those chasing them down. 65 laps will be complete. One caution so far. 20 minutes of racing expected from here. Green flag back underway here at the Nashville Superspeedway, and we'll have to wait to see how some of these drivers are going to be. Look at Connor Harrington. He's going straight up high around the outside of Robin Glennox. Remember, not for position. Harrington trapped one lap down.
Yeah, so he's going to have to make these overtakes and do it the hard way, if you like, and try and catch a caution. He crashes, as you say, but that's all going to make it very interesting as well. The race will really be on from here, especially for those one lap down. Into turn one, they'll go lots of big moves on the outside, and Harrington's taken it already.
I mean, there's aggression, and then there's the statement of a driver that knows they're a lap down and has to control the field. How aggressive will he go at the front? I think the answer is yes. There's Jason Brophy, by the way, the first of the cars that got the wave around to cycle back around. Now 2.2 seconds off of third position because of those lap cars that I was mentioning.
Yeah, exactly. So he's taken the wave around, and it's not like NASCAR where the field is sorted out so that the lead lap cars are always at the front. It is just wherever you are in the train is where you start again, which is probably a better way of doing it, to be honest with you. And he's got to work through the hard way as Brophy. So not only has he got those three in the lead, but he's got so much work before that.
Christian Steele has joined us in the YouTube chat, defending winner of the iRacing Indy 500. We were talking about the run-up to this year's race slightly earlier. He's the target that everyone's got to try and dethrone. He's watching his teammates Hamilton Akabuizi and Jacob Oster's 5th and 6th positions respectively as they try now to slightly recover. Check back in with Jason Brophy. He's closed up to the back of, I believe that's Seb Alexander in one of the Indy Alliance Racing Machine cars. We'll jump on board with Brophy and Ewan. Let's check out what he's looking like in traffic.
Well, he's looking pretty stuck to me. He's searching on the inside line, washing up a little bit there, a bit of understeer through 3 and 4, and then not really the exit that he really requires as well. So he does seem to be struggling a little bit. How adaptable is his car? How able is he to go up high and search for different lines to find that clean air and find those positions? We're waiting to see him really trying to at the moment, and now he's looking the inside again. He's struggling for now.
Not going to be able to get it done just yet, and has to reset as lapped car in front of him. It's not going to make it easy by any means, but Alexander's also not the type of driver it's going to make it too difficult. Down low, Brophy washes up high through 1 and 2. No change between these two. Yellow flag's going to fly once again. I think it's the worm man, Jacob Oster, that spun around and parked inside of turn number 2.
It is, and so he will have to get going again pretty quickly. I know he has actually gone back to the pit lane, so he may have been in the wall off of turn 2, but that's going to send Connor Harrington around. We'll take one car off the lead lap in the form of Jacob Oster and put one car back on the lead lap in the form of Connor Harrington, so we'll still have 7.
That was an impressive actual move then in terms of the timing, because he's taken full advantage of that as we watch him cycle his way and spin back around the track. Let's go and spin back to the replay and figure out what happened to Jacob Oster, who, oh my goodness, I mean, there's big hits, and then there's, well, that.
That was a huge hit, and the snap was violent as well. Oh my goodness, there it is. He tried to save it, you saw him make the correction, but there was absolutely no chance.
I think, you know what, let's see if we can grab a look on board with his teammate, Hamilton Akabuizi, who probably had a pretty scary perspective of that one.
Yeah, this might be uncomfortable viewing. Akabuizi, there's the slow-mo. Hard to tell from that angle just how close it was, but there was nothing he could have done about it, whether he was going to hit him or not.
Conor Harrington burned through his tyres and trying to get back onto the lead lap, and Wise Man instantly back to pit lane to get a fresh set of Firestones. I mean, Firehawk Man's going to love that. Great call.
I mean, even if he didn't burn through them or have to burn through them to get back on the lead lap, it makes sense for him to pit anyway, doesn't it, really? He's the last car on the lead lap, so why not come in for the fresh tyres? There's almost no disadvantage to it. I guess he'll be in a bit of traffic, but he's in quite a lot of traffic anyway.
Now, because he is pitted so early, I wonder if he will actually get cycled back. No, he won't, because it's not within the last 10 laps of the race. So if we got to the last 10 laps of the race and we had a restart, then the lead lap cars would be cycled back towards the front. Until that point, lapped cars will remain where they are. And so, yes, Conor Harrington will have some traffic to deal with, but I don't think it will be too bad, and he'll have the advantage of what will be close to 20 lap fresher tyres than Akabuwizi, but only 10 lap fresher tyres than your race leader. Jacob Oster, by the way, Ewan has said that he paid the price for making a bad setup.
Well, I suppose that's one excuse you could use, yeah. That's good. I mean, I believe him. It's fine.
Racing drivers and their excuses.
I know, yeah. Name a more iconic duo than those two. No, it's understandable, really, isn't it? But in the same way, anybody who's having that kind of slide through there is not going to be able to catch that anyway. You know, in any circumstances. So you know, there's setup maybe adds part to play in it, but no one's catching that slide.
Maybe that's why we call it a super speedway, right? Because when you crash, it's super.
Yeah, well, that one was, yeah. I mean, I don't know if we can call the first two spins of the day super, though, so, you know.
Whoa, Jacob Oster's throwing shots my way about not seeing me racing. All I'm saying is Jason Brophy is racing here today. Tomorrow is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series opener. Jason Brophy works with the likes of Team Conti behind the scenes and supports Matt Busa in particular on occasion, has been featured on the broadcast as, and I quote, crew chief for Matt Busa. And so usually, Ewan, tonight's the night that the drivers all, along with their crew chiefs, their engineers, and the entire crew behind the scenes, go crazy and stress about setups. Apparently, Jason Brophy has decided he'd have some fun with us instead.
Well, that's understandable. To be fair, though, the evening is still young in America, isn't it? So there's time after this to do all that kind of thing. But he wants to be on a RaceSpotTV broadcast first, and who can blame him?
No, I can't blame him, especially because I do owe him plenty. You remember the last DNLS broadcast that we did together, Ewan?
Yeah, well, depending on what aspect you're about to ask me about it, yes.
Oh, do you remember how my internet was maybe not the best?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's because I was in Jason Brophy's hotel room on Daytona Beach.
Nice. Was he in it?
Unfortunately, he was. Poor guy. I had to commentate on DNLS 6 o'clock in the morning before the Rolex 24, and off in Jason Brophy's hotel room I am shouting about Max Verstappen. Apparently, the neighbors did not appreciate my commentary, Ewan, or at least volume of the commentary.
Oh no! I'm glad. See, I'm surprised I haven't had a complaint. I'm not in a hotel, by the way, but just a flat. I'm surprised I don't get complaints. To be honest, it's 1:45.
Yeah, but then they'll realise that you're talking about IndyCar, so it's okay. Lights are off. We're ready to go racing again. Now, who did he say was going to win this race, Ewan? What was it, 76 laps ago?
I can't even remember. I think I said Adam Blocker, but that's gone up in flames, hasn't it?
I'll give you a chance to reset.
I'll go for Oman to hang on.
Not a bad call. I mean, clean air has been pretty important out front. Green flag stationary and waiting now for Orman to drop the hammer, get us back underway. Second caution period comes to a close, and what's behind? Adam Blocker's already got the afterburner set to maximum and trying to make some havoc in the mid-pack. The likes of Akabuwizi can do nothing but watch as three wide for a moment they went. Blocker's alongside of Brophy and now still tucked up behind Seb Alexander. Where do you go on this restart?
Well, there's dirty air everywhere and people pushing up the racetrack everywhere as well. That was a big shot up the high side there from Brophy. Marquez trying to find some, Akabuwizi trying to find some space here going three wide. Just can't find any for the moment. It's a very busy restart. You can tell this race is getting to its closing stages.
This is something, this restart is, and I mean, I hope that we get a bit of a decent green flag run because we need to see how this is going to play out, especially knowing that Conor Harrington's got the fresh tyres. How much of an advantage will they be? Akabuwizi will slam the door shut on the private label team hype driver. Brophy in front, finally past Alexander, and Blocker's going to make contact with the Indy Lights Racing driver. He'll spin out of turn 2, and caution flies for the 3rd time today.
Unbelievable avoidance, by the way, from everyone who was behind. How that wasn't a multi-car pile-up is an astonishing achievement from everyone here. That was unbelievably good driving from everybody else. The contact itself, less so. There's the side-to-side, but have a look at this. I don't know, I can't identify who those cars were, but unbelievable avoidance off of turn 2.
I mean, this is something special. I mean, we were talking about how crazy chaotic the restart was. Blocker had already had a bit of a wiggle. It scurried him up the racetrack, and oh, goodness gracious me. Can't quite tell who the orange machine is, but they had a close call. Alexander does get onto the anchors in the nick of time to avoid then sliding back up the track. But one more look at it. It might, I say might because I'm not sure, might have been Aaron McQuarrie. I don't think it was, though.
Let's see. I mean, he'll still have some avoiding to do here. There he is. In the end, just had to lift off and wait for it to unfold in front of him. But fantastic avoidance from everybody up in front of the field there to avoid that crash, which, as I say, could have really been a huge pile-up.
Well, I mean, goodness. Still now with 7 cars left on the lead lap, but with a handful out front, increasingly trying to burn off some fuel rather than worried about fuel mileage, given that we've only had the 1 pit stop this race for so many. Still Orman leading from Craig, Unglenix, and then Brophy, although Jason Brophy has now only got, I believe, Nicholas Sudik between him and the 3 up front. So finally, Brophy's been able to get that little bit closer to the podium spots.
Are you sure Musselman's not in front of him as well? I think he might be. But anyway, he's closer, yeah, he's certainly...
You're right, that is the 510 eSports car, it is.
Yeah, so he has got 2 in the middle there, but anyway, he's a lot closer than he was, and slowly on these restarts as well, he's starting to make up positions and he's starting to get closer. And, you know, with this next one, maybe he will be in range, if you like, for those top 3. But once again, how is he going to be able to overtake these guys? How easy / difficult is he going to find this? Because so far, it's not been the easiest day for him in terms of working his way through traffic. It's been a little bit tricky since he found himself at the back.
Hey, at least he hasn't spun on pit lane entry just yet, so he's got that going for him. You can see, by the way, this is the fuel burn I was alluding to slightly earlier in 6th gear. You're mashing the throttle, just getting the engine as high in terms of RPM that it can. And you're just trying to burn off some of the excess fuel that we have, especially important because, well, it was a controversial hot button topic a couple of years ago. But unlike what's happening this weekend, and I don't mean to throw shots out there, but I am going to inadvertently, it's not going to be the Daytona 500, we know that. It could be the Daytona 510, the 520, who knows. It won't be the Daytona 500. But the Indy 500, Ewan, you bet your bottom dollar that's going to be an Indy 500.
Yeah, that's one thing that IndyCar's got in its favour, I'll give you that. But yeah, that's not entirely IndyCar's sort of good doing, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, let's not talk about the red flags it leads to. Let's not.
Well, that's a point as well, to be fair. So there you go. But yeah, that is one advantage of it. We do know exactly how long this race is going to be in terms of laps, in terms of how long it's going to be in terms of time, and how long it's going to take us to get there. We really don't know at this point. I mean, we're very much in a stage of the race now where it's cautions breeding cautions.
Can they stop crashing? That would be nice.
Apparently not. We've had, what's that, 3 in a row now? Yeah. Although admittedly the first one was sort of a self-spin, which could have happened at any time.
What was that? What's that phrase that someone once said? Cautions. Cautions breed cautions. That's what it was.
I said it like 2 seconds ago.
I know, but I was just trying to be... these are long caution laps. You got to get... I mean, got to get a move on at some point. It must feel quite painful lapping this slowly for this many laps, just waiting to be unleashed once again. Did see a comment from one of the spotters saying hell is real. I agree. So, as we wait for the caution to come to an end, lights are off on the pace car, so it will be green this time by And we'll wait to see who's going to be the most feisty, the most aggressive. Remember, teammates 1 and 2, and now with a laps car between them and Glenix, an additional lap machine between them and Brophy running in 4th position in that, what he calls yellow. Still don't think it's yellow. Private label team hype entry. 32 to go this time by. Should be a good restart as Benny, the pace car driver, off and away once more. Orman with a slight fade of the throttle, and now back onto the power as Adam Blocker jinked out of line. And watch up high, Zach Carbuizzi is going to try and take advantage. Remember, Blocker is 1 lap down. He's not really in the fight with the likes of a Carbuizzi, who's getting a push from Connor Harrington behind through turns 1 and 2.
And Harrington going very high to try and find some room, but knows there's going to be no space up there, so he's going to look all the way to the inside. 3 wide with that Carbuizzi right up against the wall on the high line. He's going to rip round there and take 5th place, or retake it, I suppose, and even get a run on Brophy for 4th place.
And here he goes down low. Team i5G machine that Jacob Oza said wasn't feeling too good in terms of setup handling, trying to now challenge the former dominant race leader. Brophy holds on. I mean, it was close for a moment in terms of racing room being given. Blocker now has to try and watch as Harrington throws it up the inside. Remember, fresh tyres to boot for the number 7 machine that's still yet to try and find a way past. So much history between those 2 drivers. Blocker not making it easy by any means. Oh!
No! Oh, big spin into the wall. Connor Harrington, he did so well to get onto the lead lap and get back in contention for this race, but it's all gone up in smoke now.
Well, I was just talking about history between the drivers. Add another chapter between the 2. Here's a quick look at the replay. Harrington tries to slide up the track. Blocker not willing to get out of the throttle. 2 do not go into 1 when they meet in the middle. And end result, Harrington in the wall.
I mean, I don't see how you can pin this on anyone other than Blocker, really. Can you? I mean, Harrington is coming up the racetrack to try and block him, ironically, but surely it's Blocker's responsibility, being the car behind, not to rear-end Harrington in that situation.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not in race control for that one, as someone that has a horse in the race, Blocker being my teammate, of course, but somehow iRacing gods have smiled on him. I don't think there's any damage to the front end of his car, miraculously.
That can't be possible.
No, it's just my eyes. He's missing the left front, isn't he, of his front wing?
Yeah, but he's not pitting, so...
Pit lane may not be open just yet.
Oh, okay.
He's definitely missing it, by the way. You can see from here.
Oh, yeah, you can, yeah. The halo... sorry, the halo. Wow, what am I talking about?
The halo aero screen, goodness.
Sorry, dear, oh dear. I don't know where that came from. The aero screen, sorry, just blocking the view slightly. But there you go, you can see the gap there. I was doing the right. It's sort of like Daytona all over again.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I have the power of the yellow pen tool, and it's great. I mean,
your writing is crazy, by the way.
Have you ever tried writing with a mouse? It's not easy. So here you go. No wing over here, and then wing over here.
Yep.
Arjuna Telestrator time, back together.
You like, what's, I don't know, I was trying to think of a clever comparison for you there, but...
you know what's even better, Ewan? Just like I can write... Oh, no, that's the wrong button. Just like how I can write everything, I can go and erase it as well. Oh, it's all gone.
I thought you could... I thought you were just going to get rid of it all in one go. Like you just press that button and it's gone.
I can do that too. Here, I'll write some junk on screen. I mean, I've made sure I write it even worse for you just this time around. But boom, there you go. It's gone.
Yeah, there you are. So the pen is back out again.
How does it feel knowing you will never get the power of the yellow pen tool?
I mean, I'm quite okay with that.
Wow! I mean, I've got to say, Ewan, it's a powerful feeling. You've got to fly to the US just to appreciate the power of the yellow pen tool, as indeed Adam Blocker finally down pit lane.
Yes, and quite a lot of people actually off the lead lap in pit lane as well. I noticed Connor Harrington's waiting for us to have a chat with him if you want to.
Yeah, let's go chat with Connor, catch up with him after what was an unfortunate incident. Adam Blocker's coming in to replace his front wing after it. Connor, I mean, restarts looked pretty crazy. Talk us through your last one in particular.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I know, we somehow got trapped a lap down, or we had a black flag for some reason. I don't know how we got it. And we just got trapped, and we got lucky to get cycled back around, and we were just trying to move our way forward. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know why Adam was doing those things. I mean, I felt like as somebody we've worked together before, that's pretty disrespectful on his end. I I certainly, on my end, I would never race anybody like that with a lap while being a lap down. So just it sucks, but it is what it is.
Let's look on the positive side of things, though, I guess, right? Private label Team Hype 1 and 2 in qualifying, so started quite well, was dominating in the start. Talk to us at the moment just before the caution as you had started to close on Jason Brophy. How were you feeling in the balance of the car? Did you think you had the ability to get it done on track at that point?
Yeah. I mean, against Jason, no. I mean, we're on similar setups, and I think it's pretty clear that without cautions mucking things up, we would have been okay. But the car felt good. I mean, I don't particularly like racing here. I think it races not very good. Obviously, by the separation at the beginning, the only reason it kind of accordioned back together was because of the lap traffic there. But it's a racetrack, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I think we just need to have more downforce, or maybe the short oval kit on this car for this racetrack. But they give us the 1.5 miler, and I just don't think it's enough aero for us to race closely together.
Hey, it could be more chaotic. We could always be racing on the streets of Nashville. We're ready to go racing, though, once again, Connor. Sorry for how the race went. Hoping, though, we'll see you next week as we go back racing on the streets of Montreal.
Yep, cheers, guys.
Connor Harrington joins us to recap what has been a rather tumultuous race for him, but we're ready to go racing. 25 to go, lights off on the pace car, and they're all migrating up high and ready to go once again. Ewan, we've got 6 cars still in contention. Those lapped cars still a factor, of course. What do they need to do now if you're Brophy in behind, trying to close on those 2 teammates out front?
Well, they've got to be very quick in working their way through here, because they didn't make up any places on that last restart, but they've got to do it now. There's only 25 to go.
And you don't expect AJ Musselman to be, friendly at this point. He saw what Connor Harrington did in getting his lap back and being able to put himself back into contention. He'll try and do the very same thing. Look at him jink underneath of Rashad Craig. Has to back out of it as they fade into turn 3, but intent was there as sent Craig spiraling out of the line. And now the 510 Esports car is through and has made it through with a one. Jason Brophy still sits at that 4th position as we work back into turn number 1.
Well, he's at least made it one place, so he's now got no lap cars between himself and even that 2nd position, in fact. It's a straight fight until then, but Jesper Åhman has found a very good window of opportunity here to get away from the field, and he's got a nice lead early on, and if this is going to be a long green flag run to the end, he's going to be hard to bet against.
So dial up the weight jack, you'd assume, for some of these drivers as Brophy goes increasingly high. Up 2 seams on the track as now Glenix fades up and gives him a bit of draft down the back straightaway. Not going to see Brophy's number 4 jink back down low. He's going to set this one up high and run around the outside until he can cut back underneath. Won't come out of turn 4, you'd feel, and Glenix wise to it. And down to the yellow line, Brophy shapes up high once more.
Yeah, he's going to try round the outside in the clean air up high, and he's getting a good run through the middle of the turn. And if he gets the run off of 2, then he'll be clear on the way to 3, and he is. So Brophy's into 3rd place already.
What a remarkable move in terms of confidence there from Brophy, not lifting to give any sort of rhythm to Glenix, who now settles back in, has lost his podium spot. And now Rashad Craig with AJ Musselman inside of him versus Jesper Åhman. That gap for the race lead has grown to 2 full seconds. Åhman's not looking back, he's flying away. It'll be 20 to go this time by.
Yeah, it will be, and 2 seconds with 20 to go at the line is a fantastic margin to hold over the rest of the field. What a great drive he's had so far. What a great restart he's had as well. And he's going to be hard to bet against for the remainder of this one in the current situation. Anyway, surely it's going to take another caution for the others.
Yep, and I have a feeling we probably don't want to say that's not going to happen, because 8th on back, all drivers 1 lap down. Well, Nick Sudik in front of Taylor, Marquez, Alexander, and the recovering, charging Adam Blocker. These are all drivers that could find themselves in a bit of a pickle as they try to jockey for some track position. 19 laps to go for them, and let's not forget some of these drivers are running well up the road. Marquez at one point as high as 4th position.
Yeah, he was flying off the start, but got trapped 1 lap down, and these guys unfortunately are too far back in the train to really be benefiting from overtaking those leaders and getting back on the lead lap the hard way. They're just sort of hoping for crashes, and they've not come in the right way for these guys a bit further down. So they're kind of trapped 1 lap down, fighting for 8th place really. Musselman seems to be quite a long way from these guys, even in the first car 1 lap down.
Yeah, Musselman, of course, the one that's separating Jesper Orman from those trying to chase him down. There's the 510 esports car that's built the advantage up to Richard Craig, who increasingly you're going to have to feel is going to watch the rearview mirrors as Jason Brophy is closing, but with 17 to go, make it 16 at the line. Only racing around a 1 1/3 mile track, so short distance as well as short laps. I don't think Jason Brophy's got enough time to really even close to the back of Jesper Orman. Unless there's a caution now, 10 to go would mean lapped car cycle to the back. Jesper Orman finds himself in a very comfortable spot.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the only situation where Brophy's got a chance here. If he can get rid of Musselman because of a caution in the last 10 laps, that's what it's going to take at this stage, I would say. But even Craig in front is going to be a problem. Side by side for 4th position as Hamilton and Akabuezi is looking to regain some of those places lost during the caution flags, and a bit of bad luck, to be honest, but he's back up to 4th now.
Nicely done. Passes in Glenix, who's taken full advantage of the timing of the caution, promoting him to the podium spot. Still sits in the top 5, where he qualified down in 14th, so all things considered, 9 positions gained. You can't be too disappointed with that run. If we stay clean and green, we've got about 5 minutes left in this one with the 14 lap to go marker, the blue and gold, glistening gold as well under these night lights at the Nashville Superspeedway. Now 3 seconds clear of those behind. Margin continues to grow, and any hope of a caution starting to dissipate. Connor Harrington said it was quite difficult to follow, and this fight for 8th position, Ewan, starting to unravel.
Yeah, it is. It's getting interesting here for these guys who are 1 lap down. It seems that Sudik and Matt Taylor are probably the most likely candidates to take that 8th position at the moment, but there's still a few more in the train, with Andrew Marquez running out the top 10, Seb Alexander recovering from that spin somehow to still be running 11th. Adam Blocker's not really made much progress on this restart either, which is a bit of a surprise in 12th.
Maybe feeling a little bit chastised after the contact that was made with Connor Harrington. Remember, he was a lap down in that situation, doesn't want to maybe force the issue with anyone else as we hit the closing laps of this one. Remember, we will finish the season out with a race on another oval, although one with, what, turn 4? Pocono's just got the 3 to concern yourself with. But between this and that season finale, which is always a blockbuster showdown, seen plenty of them on RaceSpotTV over the years. It's over to the streets of Montreal, to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and a place that's maybe more traditionally accustomed to seeing Formula One cars navigate its way through. It'll be quite curious to see how these Indy cars get on there.
It is, yeah, because as you say, they are probably the cars most similar to Formula One cars in the world of racing, but they're not going to be very similar around there, I wouldn't imagine. I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see. It's a venue, to be honest. I'm surprised that IndyCar in real life hasn't been there a bit more often. I know that it stays largely to America these days, but you know, it might be worth a go once in a while, and I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it. But I'm looking forward to seeing how they go around there, and that sort of, well, it is a street circuit, but it doesn't feel like it sometimes.
Right, no, it's like one of those hybrid pseudo street circuits, isn't it, which makes it so intriguing. And, well, less street circuits would be better, but circuit Gilles Villeneuve, I've got no problem with that one. You can stay as long as you would like around in Formula One. And indeed, let's go racing there a little bit more and just disrupt the traffic. In Canada, we will be very, very popular if we did so.
Why would you want to disrupt the traffic or make traffic? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. People complain about street circuits because of traffic. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, on that point, let's not race at Chicago instead. How about that?
No, don't worry. I'm pretty sure people saw a patent file or trademark being filed, mainly so Formula One can make sure that no one else ever goes to Chicago and tries to call it a Chicago Grand Prix. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Okay.
Definitely not the people that are already there and might elect to try and call their race something interesting. Anyway, there's some conversation going on in some virtual discords that I'm a part of right now. People wondering how quick people run miles. Someone says they once ran a 5:57. The last time I ran a mile was probably 12 years ago, so I don't know the answer to this question anymore.
Oh dear, that's not good.
I biked plenty, I just don't run anymore. My knees are shot.
I can't imagine. You can't imagine you're really built for running. To be honest, I feel like that wouldn't be your thing.
Exactly.
Particularly, but I don't know the answer to that question either. It's not sub 6 minutes though. That's that's very fast.
Is it? I have no idea.
I think
No
it's
frame.
quite fast, yeah. I think so. Or is it?
I mean, an IndyCar's doing it in about 22 seconds right now.
That's not fair, though. There's a few more working parts going into that than a human being. So yeah, what's that? About 15 miles an hour, is it? 6 minutes for a mile?
Never trust the commentator. Never trust the commentators, man.
Don't.
Are you kidding me here? You're getting into
15 kilometres, sorry. I was trying to work out kilometres because that's our treadmills in the UK are kilometres an hour.
There you go.
I was trying to work it out, but I can't do that. I can't run at 15 kilometres an hour even for a minute.
Never trust the commentator's math. Jason Brophy's not going to get close enough to Rashad Craig to even have a fight. We've got 2 laps left to go here. As much as we joke about speed of cars, I do want to say one thing that we haven't talked about across of 113 laps so far. Ewan Hybrid coming to Indy cars. I can only imagine what a race like this could have been like if you had the energy management strategy come in of the hybrid as well.
It would be interesting. I don't know quite how it will work in some sense because you're on throttle so much it might be a bit different, but it would be interesting to see. It would add another aspect to this race, which has been very interesting, I've got to say, but in the end, Jesper Ohman in his track position has certainly benefited from all of the chaos behind.
I mean, what a race it was right at the start. We went clean and green for 60-something laps, and just as we got into green flag pit stops, wabam, strategy mixed up by the timing of the courseman. And a late race, morning, early night, whatever you want to call it for Jesper Ohman means victory for him. He'll strum his way to victory lane here in the Music City, 4.5 seconds clear of the chasing pack. It will be Rashad Craig second, Jason Brophy, a valiant recovery back up to third after the timing of the caution dropped him 1 lap down and needing to try and fight his way back on forward. Carboisi and Glenix, the rest of the top 5. We look from up above at this wonderful racing facility and look forward to more great racing in this iRacing IndyCar series as Jesper Ohman gets ready to burn it down in victory lane.
And there's an odd sight with the logo behind, but whatever. He's going to be able to enjoy his win. Oh, he's going to be joined on the front stretch as well, by the looks of things, for his victory celebrations. But fully deserved in the end. As I say, the track position really was the deciding factor, and now he's hit Rashad Craig. But either way, they can both be very pleased with their day. A result they've both managed to gain as a result of the cautions or whatever, and they've benefited perfectly from the chaos around them.
I think they're trying to line it up for the photo right now. So the social media guy has a job to do, except Rashad Craig has just disappeared. Oh, goodness. At least Jesper Ohman's there and ready to celebrate. Again, 4.5 seconds the margin of victory in what is an Indy Alliance Racing 1 and 2. Private label Team Hype's Jason Brophy grabs third, with Hamilton and Carboisi making the switch over to Team My5G, of course, 4th position for him. Michigan's own Robin Glenix 5th, James Allen 6th, and the final car scored on the lead lap before you get down to those that really had to fight 1 lap down for the second half of the race. The likes of AJ Musselman, Nicholas Sudik, Matt Taylor, and Andrew Marquez. You can keep going as well to find Adam Blocker, Seb Alexander, Aaron McQuarrie, Matthew Ponto, and Jack Mara, Connor Harrington, Jacob Oster, and Stephen Lee. Plenty of drivers DNFing through the course of the race, and over the course of the 115 laps, just 4 caution periods to worry about. Ended up being a little bit cleaner than maybe some would have feared, but not a bad race, all things considered. We'll give the drivers a few minutes so we can go and grab a chat with them post-race, because that was an enjoyable one, Ewan, wasn't it?
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. I'm glad we got a nice green flag run at the end as well, and it wasn't all just a bash and a crash for the second half of the race, because we did get a good opening half of the race, and I was a bit fearful after those first 50 laps or so, actually, that we were going to see very little overtaking. I was thinking at some points, where are the overtakes going to come from here? It seems very single file, but that caution being thrown at the worst time for some and the absolute best for others really shook up the race.
Let's see if we can catch up with some of the drivers, starting with Jason Brophy, who may have started on pole, finishes in third though. Timing of the caution may be suboptimal to say the least, but Jason, did you at least have fun out there?
No.
No?
The track is just, I don't know if it would have been better in hot, but in this cold weather, it's too close to full throttle. It didn't move around is the problem. The inside was always just miles better. This is one of those cases where I think the dynamic track isn't working as well. We've had great race in a lot of the hot tracks recently. Maybe it's the cold, maybe it's the... but you just couldn't move around nearly as well as you'd hope. The inside was still faster pretty much no matter what. Makes it tough to catch people in dirty air. Dirty air is real bad. We're on the Speedway package. So, I think sometimes... this happens, right? It's a track that, you know, we don't have to choose anymore, thankfully. So, you know, we've got a lot more options now going into the next season and stuff. So I think we'll be able to have a lot of, because there's a lot of good racing at the 1.5 milers. But this one, sadly, right now, just not working in this weather. So, you know, I had fun in qualifying. So there's that.
Hey, you had fun in qualifying. You showed up as well, which I know tomorrow started the eNASCAR season, so surely a busy time for you as well, right? Oh, but it's Daytona, so how much preparation is there really, Jason? Talk to us about the first round of the eNASCAR campaign.
Oh, there's preparation going on. I think they're running A open. I'm going to go over there right now after this. I could get away with it because it was Daytona, though, so, you know, they're racing Daytona. Most of the work's done. We're just waiting for the race to happen, so, you know, that's pretty much what it boils down to. Tomorrow, hopefully, Busa can go out there, get a win, or someone from our team, Connie Space. But it's a bit of a crapshoot. Got to hope to be in the right spot, be a little lucky. We're a lot lucky, and bring it home. That's the goal tomorrow.
Well, the luck, unfortunately, wasn't on your side in terms of timing of caution today. Still a great run for the private label Team Hype Machine. Congratulations on third, and hopefully we'll see you at Pocono to round out the season.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think maybe.
Maybe.
2 weeks from now is tough. So if it's 2 weeks from now, I have a hard time. But if it's, yeah.
We'll bully him into doing it. Jason Brophy joins us from third. And before we catch up with Rashad Craig, let's see if we can catch up with Jesper Orman. Early morning, late night, however you want to look at it, Jesper. But a victory, you must be pretty happy with that one too.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was the race. I didn't expect to win. I didn't even have T-Speak downloaded here, so can you guys hear me?
We got you loud and clear. Glad that you were able to get that all sorted after the victory as well. Say you didn't expect it to go that way. We've talked to Connor Harrington, we've talked to Jason Brophy. You said they don't necessarily have a fondness for this track. What are your opinions on the Nashville Superspeedway?
I think it became better and better how the race progressed, to be honest. Because, you know, I went from P6 to P1, but I don't have a problem with it. Really, I think it's okay. What's really rewarding for us as a team now was that, like, 3 hours before the race, we had nothing. We had nothing to go off of, no setup, nothing, and we were 4 guys trying to set up a car that would work here. And honestly, it's incredible how we managed to get a car going and just, it felt amazing. And at P1 and P2 with Rashad, I mean, couldn't ask for more.
Talk to me about those restarts with your teammate as well, sitting in second. How much are you able to coordinate on a couple of the later restarts that we had? Because there weren't many opportunities for passing, but surely most of them would come on those initial restarts.
Oh yeah, that was coordination all the way. We were counting down. I guess all teammates do that if they're on the same Discord on voice. There was a bit of a moment there on the first restart because I kind of forgot my tools there and almost hit the wall understeering into, I think it was 3. So Connor Harrington came by, but he was a lap down, so he was fine that he got his lap back. So, but yeah, just from 50 laps and onwards, it was just managing not hitting the wall and just taking care of those tires and just hoping for the best.
And enjoying the clean air out front. Congratulations on the victory, Jesper. We'll jump from one Indy Alliance Racing driver on the top step of the podium to the second step of the podium, where Rashad Craig just able to fend off Jason Brophy in the closing stages. Rashad, how stressed were you feeling there as Jason got closer and closer as the laps ticked away?
Man, I'm still shaking. Like, it's like I was starting to lose the car a bit at the end, so I was just happy to be able to hold on.
I don't blame you for the amount of adrenaline that I imagine is going through your body right now. I mean, talk to us as well about being pushed forward as a result of the timing of the caution as well, because you went from being in plenty of dirty air to having a little bit more clean air. How much adjustment in terms of in-car tools and in-car driving was there to get back up to speed?
Not really. We made a really good car. Like, we didn't really have much, basically a couple hours ago, and the team pulled together and we made a really good car, so I really didn't have to adjust much. It was really comfortable back there. It was mainly the difference between saving and full push at the end, and the caution is really what made the whole race, because we were saving tires and saving fuel and just caught a caution at just the right time.
Well, worked out 1 and 2 for the Indy Alliance Racing program. So, Rashad, congratulations on second, and see you in a week's time over on the streets of Montreal.
All right, see you guys. Thank you.
Should be a fun race, that is for sure, as well as we return to street course racing. The diverse nature of American open wheel racing continues to be on offer here on RaceSpotTV. Same time, same place. I'm really looking forward to this one, and hoping the drivers keep it out of the Wall of Champions as well.
Yeah, that's one of the big aims, but there's plenty of other walls to collect them as well if they don't end up there. So it's a great challenge, a great circuit to drive on, and does provide good racing mostly as well. Hoping that we're going to see the same in this series in 1 week's time. But last time we were at a street circuit, it was nail-biting. Not much overtaking, but a nail-biting finish. Maybe we can get something similar next week.
Yeah, and I think the way the push-to-passes work in this car on iRacing, not matching the real-world system in terms of a second-based allotment instead of a usage-based allotment. You get 10 usages of the push-to-pass. Means that basically you're trying to time 10 times down that back straightaway here out of the hairpin to try and get the most advantage from the 70-odd horsepower advantage that you'll get. And so that's going to be a crucial sort of a talking point. How do drivers take advantage of that and really ration that in terms of fuel usage as well? Because it does tend to add just a little bit more of consumption to the mark as well. Look at the schedule that sees, of course, the drivers really bouncing across of the world. We went to the Nordschleife midway through the season and then went to Texas a couple of weeks after that. Nashville, Montreal, Pocono to close things off. It's a really fun schedule, and don't forget that if people want to have an opinion, a voice on where Season 2 will take drivers on this iRacing official series, head on to the forums. You've still got some time, I believe, to vote on the schedule moving forward.
Believe so. We are getting towards that time where it'll be week 13 very soon, and we'll be seeing a new schedule as well. But you mentioned the diversity of American open wheel racing. There is a view of it. So many different great racetracks on this schedule, even in the time we've been covering it, from the Nordschleife at the very start of the season to some of the ovals that we're getting towards the end and the street circuits as well. It's been so diverse in the different sorts of racetracks we've been to, and hopefully that can remain a feature on these schedules in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, as we move forward, we'll start to align ourselves with the iRacing schedule for the iRacing IndyCar Tour, which is going to match up as closely as possible with the NTT IndyCar Series. So there's plenty to look forward to without a shadow of a doubt moving forward, not just here on RaceSpotTV, but for fans of the Dallara IR18 in virtual motorsport. Time to say goodbye, though, from the Music City. We'll strum our way up north towards, of course, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve next week, but leaving this track with a guitar strapped on their back and victory to their name, Jesper Orman on top in an Indy Alliance Racing 1 and 2. For the team behind the scenes at RaceSpotTV, thank you so much for joining myself, Arjuna Kankipati, alongside Ewan O'Leary. We'll see you in a week's time. Can't wait for it on the streets of Montreal.